accustomed to doing striped work and carrying yarns between uses, you'll be familiar with the idea of twisting the yarn to catch it in the edge of the work. So that way you don't have, for instance, this kind of loop that forms between the use of this green yarn here and the use here when it was dropped and picked back up. I want to show you a different way to handle the yarn between uses when you're going to be picking up and knitting on the edge where that drape is. So first of all, let's just start some pick up and knit along this edge. Okay, so we're just going to start picking up and knitting along this edge. And as with pick up and knit always, we want to go through the garter stitch bump. Unfortunately, this yarn is a little bit dark for showing that, but we'll just keep moving along here. Okay, so now I've picked up some stitches, one per garter stitch bump in this part of the knitting here. Now I'm coming to the part where I've got this draped green yarn behind the work. What I want to do to deal with that is I want to kind of weave it into my pick up and knit. And so the way I do that is I alternate lifting that yarn over the needle and under the needle while I'm performing consecutive pickups. Let's start with it over the yarn for the first one. It's on top of the needle for the first one. And then I'm drawing the yarn through for my pick up and knit. And now I'm going to push it down so that it's under the needle for the next one. And then it's over the needle for the next stitch. And then under the needle for the next stitch. And then over the needle for the next stitch. And then under the needle for the next stitch. Over. Under. Over. I always make these a little too tight. And then with much difficulty, I think I'll just leave that one. It was supposed to be under, but it's going to be too hard to catch it. Okay, so let's look at the back. Let's see what happened. So now you can see here that the stitches have been caught up into the pick up and knits here along that edge very nicely. So this avoided either having to twist that yarn on the edge, which would have made it much harder to pick up and knit along this edge because you'd have a lot more going on. And we didn't have to cut the yarn. That would have been the other alternative, is to cut the yarn after each use and then have to weave it in, and then that's a lot of work. So from the front, you can see that you can't see that draped yarn at all. And in the back, it's nicely woven in. That's a technique that you can use, again, when you have yarn that's being used, dropped, essentially striping, right? Where you're using the yarn, then you're dropping it, then you're using it again. And so when you make the drape, I didn't really show this, it should not be much longer than the length of the edge. It really doesn't have to be much longer at all, and because it's really just going to be kind of picked up and woven in a straight line right up that edge. Okay, so I hope that helps you avoid weaving in ends. Thank you and happy knitting!